In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use instance attributes, which is a fairly new feature that lets you basically create custom properties. So this could be something such as the damage, fire rate, or the reload time of a weapon, or the acceleration and top speed of a vehicle. You'll want to use attributes over value objects, which is the historical way of creating such configurations because they're much faster and also they take up less memory. And I'm going to show you how you can actually use attributes. We're going to be creating a jump pad, and go ahead and open up Roblox Studio. Make sure you have the Explorer and the Properties windows open. If you don't, you can go to View and then click Explorer and Properties and they'll open up. I have this part selected, and at the bottom of the properties, you see there's this Attributes tab. Inside of this Attributes tab, I have 3 attributes for this part currently. There's another attribute with a value hello, my jump height with a value 0, and then some attribute name with a value of 10. Right now, the jump pad is set up so that you jump whatever the studs is set to for my jump height. So right now it's set to 0. If I walk on this pad, I don't jump at all. But if I increase it, so I'll just click it because it's set up with a click detector to increase it to 10, and I jump at 10 studs, click it a few more times, it's at 20. You can see down on the attributes it's value 20. Now it jumps 20 studs. Now I could also change it down here and it changes to 40, but you'll see that when I run over the pad, I still only jump 20 studs. That's because this does take into account the filtering enabled properties, so changes on the client aren't copied over to the server. So if I actually click on test, go to current server, select the part, scroll down, and then change the properties, you can see the attributes, it's still 20. I'll change it to 100. Go back to the client side, and then I'll run over this and I jump 100 studs now. So that is something to take into account, which is good though. That effect is good for preventing exploitation in your game. Now let's cover how you actually make the jump pad with attributes. Go ahead, insert a part, resize it however you like. Go to the properties of the part, scroll to the bottom, and you can go ahead and insert an attribute like this. Click add attribute. Name it whatever you like, except it does have to be under 100 characters. You have to use alphanumeric characters or the underscore, so that's A through Z, 0 through 9, and there's no symbols or spaces allowed. We'll name this my jump height, just as the example. There's types to choose from. If you don't understand this, be sure to check out my beginner scripting series. I cover types in those videos. We're going to be using a number, and I'll save that. As you can see, now we have an attribute down here called my jump height, which is set to 0. And in addition, I'm going to go ahead and rename this to example. And then I'm going to insert a click detector. And then I'm going to insert a billboard GUI along with a text label inside of this billboard GUI. And as well, I'm going to insert a script. That should be all we need for setting up this jump pad. And here we're going to actually start the scripting. So there's a few different functions and events to cover. There's a GetAttribute, SetAttribute, GetAttributes, and GetAttributeChangedSignal function. So GetAttribute is used to actually get the value of an attribute. So if we typed GetAttribute and then in the parentheses my jump height, we'd get the value of my jump height, which is 0 right now. We can actually create an attribute with the SetAttribute function, and you put the name of the attribute that you want to create and then the value that you want to set it to. You can also use this to set a value or a attribute that already exists, so we can use that to set my jump height. GetAttributes returns a table of all the attributes for a part or some instance, and then you have this GetAttributeChangedSignal function, which returns a Roblox script signal for whenever this attribute right here changes. So I'll cover how you actually use these in just a second though. And then the AttributeChanged function or event does the same thing as this, but it does it for all attributes. Let's just go ahead and start scripting though, and I'll cover these throughout the example. Let's type local jump pad equals script.parent to get a reference to the jump pad or the example brick right here. You can see in the script the parent is example. And then what we're going to do is type local jump pad attribute value, and then this is where we actually will get the value of the attribute. So we'll type jump pad colon get attribute, then the name of the attribute as I said before, which is my jump height. And then now after doing this, if we look at the example again, the value is 0, so this variable right here will be equal to 0. Next, what we're going to do is get a reference to the billboard GUI. Type local billboard equals jump pad period billboard GUI, and then after that we'll get a reference to the text label, just like this, equals billboard.text label. Now we're going to create a touched event so that whenever we touch the brick, the jump pad, we will jump. So we'll type local or just jump pad touched connect. Then the function we'll be using, and we'll add just other part right here. If you don't know how touched event works, then just check out my video on touched events, and I'll explain a little bit more though. So type local humanoid equals other part dot parent find first child, which is a humanoid. So what we're going to be doing here is whenever the jump pad is touched, we'll automatically receive the part that touched it through the touched event. And then what we want to do is check to make sure that the part belongs to a player. So if it's your left leg or right leg touching it, the parent would be your character's model, and inside of that model should be a humanoid. So if there is a humanoid and it was a player that touched the part, then this will be equal to their humanoid. If not, it will be nil. So we're going to use a conditional statement to check to see if that is true. So if humanoid, then, so in here, any code will execute as long as humanoid exists. If it doesn't exist, nothing will happen. So then this is where we actually want to make the humanoid jump. So we'll type humanoid.jump equals true. That's a property of humanoids. If you set the jump property to true, the player will jump. But we want to jump a certain height. So we're going to set the humanoid to jump height equal to the jump pad attribute value. So right now that would be 0. And then we jump. And then what we want to do is set it back to the original value. The default value for the humanoid jump height is 7.2. So we'll set it back to 7.2. And this right here would make us jump at whatever the attribute value is set to. So if it's 0, we'll jump 0 studs. If it's 100, we'll jump 100 studs. But that isn't very interesting by itself. So what we want to also do is add the click detector functionality. So we'll type jumppad.clickDetector.mouseClick, and then connect this to a function so that whenever we click the part, the attribute value will increase. This will be where we'll be using the second function, which is SetAttribute, and we type the name of the attribute right here, my jump height, and then we'll type jump pad attribute value plus 1, and this will set the attribute value to the current value plus 1. However, if we were to run this code and see what happens, initially the value is 0 because that is what it is currently. We click it once and it would be 0 plus 1, and then we click it again, it'd be 0 plus 1 again, because we're not updating this variable right here. Instead of doing this variable, you could just simply replace this and this would work. But another thing I'm going to show you is a way to update the variable. So in order to update the variable and see whenever the my jump height attribute is changed, I'll show you another function or event that is connected with attributes, which is the AttributeChangedSignal function. So type jump pad, then :GetAttributeChangedSignal, my jump height, the name of the attribute right here. And then we'll connect to this. So what this function does is it returns a connection or a Roblox script signal that will fire whenever my jump height is changed, or whatever attribute you have right here is changed, and then it'll call this function right here. So it's just like the touched event, whenever the touched event is fired, so whenever jump pad is touched, this function executes, and then the same goes for this function. Whenever the attribute is changed, that's right here, so whenever my jump height is changed from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, whatever, then this function will be called. So in here, what we're going to do is update the jump pad attribute value to the current value. So to do that, we'll use this function right here again, jump pad :GetAttribute my jump height. Now if we play the game, you can see the current value is 0, we'll click the part and it updates to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I jump 10 studs. But I'm also going to now show you how you can update the text label just so you can actually see the current value. So to do that, we're going to let's type text label dot text equals jump height is, and then the value of the jump height. So we'll concatenate that with the period, and jump pad attribute value. So this will update the text now. As I said before, you can use the SetAttribute function to create new attributes. So I'll show you that here. So we'll type hello. So we're going to create a new attribute called hello with a value of goodbye. And we can see that in just a second, but I'm going to show you another function at the same time. So if we actually print the attributes, we can do jump pad colon GetAttributes, add an S there. So it's GetAttributes, not attribute. Plural. This returns a dictionary of all the attributes inside jump pad. So I'll go ahead and play the game and you can see this. So as you can see down here in the output, it was printed hello and goodbye. My jump height equals 0. So that is all the attributes inside of our example part. Now the last thing to cover is the attribute changed event. So we'll type jump pad attribute changed colon connect, and then a function. This will receive the attribute name that was changed. So attribute name. And this attribute changed event fires whenever any attribute inside of jump pad changes. So whenever hello changes from goodbye to like the video, that would fire this attribute changed event, or if the jump height value is changed. So we'll just do this, we'll print attribute name, comma, and then space changed. And you can see whenever we play the game that if we click this part, my jump height changed is printed. Also, if you want to actually see the text, you'll probably want to go to the billboard GUI, click the studs offset, and set the middle value to 5, so it comes up a little bit, and now you can actually see the value change as we click it. So as a quick recap, GetAttribute will return the value of whatever attribute is right here in the parentheses. SetAttribute will set the value of whatever attribute is right here to this value right here, and you can use this to create new attributes and also just set current attributes. GetAttributes will return all the attributes inside of a part, so that'll be a dictionary of all the attributes, or a table rather. Then GetAttributeChangedSignal will return a Roblox script signal that fires whenever attribute name right here, whatever the attribute you put right here, is changed. AttributeChanged is an event or a Roblox script signal that fires whenever any attribute inside of a part or some instance is changed. Also, I haven't said this before, but if you're trying to actually delete an attribute, all you need to do is set the value to nil like this. So this would delete the hello attribute. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video if it helped you out, comment any questions below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos in the future.